Mm.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is the Chicago Computer Society South Suburban Computer Club meeting for July 2025. I have a big agenda of articles, etc., with handouts, and I hope we can cover everything at least briefly. We won't have time to go through everything. Uh, Tonight, we're going to turn things over to Ron Freeman for his July advice on upgrading from uh, Windows 10. Go ahead, Ron.
All right. Yeah, so this is session number 3 out of 5. The first session was how do you determine whether you can upgrade. The second session was about preparation for upgrading your computer if it qualified. This session is about preparation for migration if your computer does not qualify for Windows 11. It's just doesn't cut the mustard. The basic criteria I'm using for that is a PC health check, which is one of Microsoft's uh, tools for Windows 10. It will check to see whether your computer is compatible with an upgrade to Windows 11. So if it gets a thumbs down from that, what's the next step? And the next step, if your computer doesn't qualify, is you need to prepare for a migration or just get out of the computer industry altogether and don't go digital and find a cave. But to migrate, you're going to need a new to you computer. It could be a refurbished computer. As long as it's compatible with Windows 11, that's kind of what we're talking about in this session. Um, as you know, what does a new to you computer mean? Um, it could be a brand new computer that already has Windows 11 installed on it. It could be a used computer that already has Windows 11 installed on it or can have Windows 11 installed on it. It might be that you're not going to go with Windows at all and you're going to go with a Mac. Or it might be that you're going to go with a Chromebook. So there's things of that nature that you might be looking at. One of the things I will say, if you're looking to get another computer, and this is a personal opinion, I'm not speaking for CCS or anything. I would avoid, especially if you're going to migrate from your old computer to a new computer and want to do it as seamlessly as possible. Do not get a new computer that has the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor on it. An Intel processor is fine, AMD processor is fine, but these Qualcomm Snapdragon PCs are sometimes called Copilot PCs. They're AI ready PCs. Um, uh, they just don't run Windows the way everyone else runs Windows. It's just a cheap version of a processor that can run Windows, and of course, cheap is what cheap does, and you may not be happy with it. I'm not talking about one of those kind of computers, but you can get it. You don't need a brand new computer to run Windows 11. There are older computers. Pretty much any computer since 2018, built after 2018, can probably run any Intel or AMD computer that was built since 2018 can run Windows, unless it was running Chrome OS. And then I can't speak to whether it could run Windows or not. But at least give you somebody, you can get a used computer that will run Windows 11. And it'd be great if you got a used computer that it already had Windows 11 on it, so you don't have to worry about installing a new operating system. What we're going to be talking about today is migrating stuff from your old computer to the new computer. Um, in the last couple of sessions, we talked about system reports, either through Bellark Advisor or your an A to 64 or your favorite system configuration reporting device. You're going to want to have that done and ready and available to you, either as a printout or someplace where you can get to it from the cloud. Because once your old computer goes away, you won't have access to that information anymore, and you may want to keep it. So you're going to want to have those reports available to you. The next thing you want to do on your old PC is, but before doing the migration, is as much as possible run updates, not upgrades, updates on your operating system, on your applications, and on your device drivers. You're not going to need these for Windows 11, but you need these to make sure that your computer is running well with whatever the latest 10 updates are, and your app updates, whether it be Office or Adobe or LibreOffice or other applications and tools that you like to use. Device drivers are another thing. Just kind of make sure that you have good device drivers for your USB and your networking and stuff in case you have to use it. But that's stuff we all talked about in the past sessions. You're at the point now where you're prepping for migration. We're not going to do a migration until a couple sessions from now. Next session, we'll be actually doing an upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11 on the machine that you have, because it is compatible. And 2 sessions from now, we'll actually run one of these migrations where you take your old stuff from your old computer and put it on a new computer and watch it miraculously run as if it were on your old computer. The one thing you want to know about on your old computer is your local administrator password. You want to know that you can log in to your local administrator account and you know the password. And we discussed this in the prior 2 sessions. You still need to know that now. So before you're going to migrate, make sure you know what your local administrator password is. The other thing is, if you have room on your hard drive on your old computer and you've been using file compression, if you have room left, enough room left, uncompress your hard drive. To migrate your data, you probably don't want to be also decompressing files simultaneous with migrating. So if you can uncompress your hard drive, go ahead and do it. The next thing you want to do is you want to turn off BitLocker. Let me show you where BitLocker is. I'm going to go to my other computer here, and let's see here if you can if you're in a view where you can maximize the speaker's screen. I'm in Control Panel on Windows 10, and I'm looking at the BitLocker drive encryption section. And if you look here in this section right here, you can see my BitLocker has already been turned off. I could turn it on here, but there's no reason to. You can see this computer is a little bit old. It started out as a Windows 8 computer. It is Windows 10 now. But you do want your BitLocker turned off. Now, when you turn off BitLocker, it's going to take a while because it has to basically unlock all your files and make them native again. So this is not something you want to do at the last minute. It might even take overnight, depending on how many files are on BitLocker. You'll also notice that I have 2 partitions. I have a D drive and a C drive. And you probably want to turn BitLocker off on your D drive as well. If you have more partitions on your drive, all of them should have BitLocker turned off if you can do that. And it basically, if you're doing the C drive, it should just allow you to go directly in and unclick it from here because you're logged in already. It should allow you to just start unlocking your drive. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. I'm going to go back now. Actually, I should have left that. Well, that's okay. We'll come back to it. You can turn off AV at this point in your preparation because you are going to install some software and you don't want your AV to stop installing software. And what you're going to install at this point is a migration tool. There are several different migration tools out there that will basically take your D content, that's your files, your profile, all your data. It will take your configurations, and it will take your applications. That's kind of the difficult part to do is also migrate your applications from one computer to another. You can't just copy them over into the programs file. It does require some I won't say artificial intelligence to do it, but it does require some knowledge of what it is, unless you want to go back and reinstall all the applications that you have, which is something you can do as well. I don't always have my disks in my installing software, and I don't remember my license keys and all that kind of stuff. And having a migration tool obviates that. There are three, I'll call them semi-popular migration tools. The one I recommend to anyone who asks me, and again, this is not a CCS endorsement or anything, is I recommend PC Mover from LapLink. Let me go back to my camera, my other computer here, and I'm going to minimize this. There we go. Minimize this, and I'm going to open up. Here's PC Mover from LapLink. You want PC Mover Professional is my recommendation. You see it here. List price is $60. If you buy it for $60, let's just say you didn't look around. Even LapLink has a special right now for 50% off. Minimum they should be able to get off on LapLink, and not some scam website, but through a legitimate website is 33% off with a coupon. You can get it directly from LapLink, PC Mover from them. Just kind of look around, see what you can find. It's out there for 30 to 40 bucks. And it's well worth it because it copies all your programs that it knows about. It doesn't know about every program. And there's some programs which you probably don't want to move. And the one that comes to my mind is the desktop version of QuickBooks Enterprise. So if you're running a small business on QuickBooks Enterprise desktop version, not the cloud version, you do not want to use PC Mover. You can use PC Mover to move it, but I won't guarantee that it's going to move it well, and you're going to spend some time redoing it. It will gladly move the data, but the installation of the software probably won't work. But for most of your applications, it'll work fine. It'll work fine for Office. If you have a non-cloud version of Office, it'll work fine for that. It will work fine for the non-cloud versions of Adobe products. It will work for third-party products like LibreOffice. It will do a lot of your utilities. It's really slick. Plus, it moves all your profiles from your computer. So if you have a computer that has multiple people that have their own logins, it will move all of those. It will also move all the configuration settings. So what does my desktop look like? What are my folders? What are my, all the different kinds of things that you think about, all your customizations. PC Mover Professional is real good. There are other versions of PC Mover. You don't need Ultimate, and you don't want to get any of the lesser ones. I personally go with that. There are a couple of other ones. EASYS makes a transfer product. Let's see here. There we go. It's called PC Transfer from EASYS. EASYS is a pretty good third tier software developer. They do a lot of things like drive partitioning and things like that. They do a good job transferring data. Here you can get 70% off their product. And it will, as they say here, it will transfer your data and your programs and all of your files in your profiles. So it's pretty slick. And you notice if you're still using Windows 7, you can migrate to Windows 11 with it. I don't know about Windows XP. They talk about XP, but I can't imagine how that's quite going to work with all the changes that are in Windows 11. Ballpark price is going to be about the same price or cheaper than the Laplink software. And then on the more expensive side, which is what they kind of tout, that they're more expensive, so it's going to work better. I have no idea about this product. It's called Zinstall Migration Kit Pro. And the one they also have another product called Win-Win. It's only for network connections between two computers, which I'm not going to recommend in for any of the products here. The Migration Kit Pro allows you to make a transfer image, go to the new computer and take the transfer image and put it on the new computer. So, and that's the way I recommend for all three products doing this. One of the nice things about PC Mover, if we go back to PC Mover, is it allows you to download the software before you buy it. You only have to pay for it when you're ready to install what you're transferring onto the new computer. The new when you install PC Mover on the new computer, that's when it asks you for a license and when you can pay for it. You can pay for it in advance. All it cares about is the license key once you install it on the new computer. So I'm going to kind of show you that here. Here I am at Laplink, and here it shows me that I can download and install PC Mover Professional, PC Mover Pro, and the download link is here. And you install that on your old computer, and you can get started making your transfer file from your old computer, even before you get the new computer if you want. But you don't want to spend you don't want to be using your new computer for the time that you are waiting for your new computer. You don't want to be using your old computer and adding new files and changing things. You want it to all be done all within a relatively short amount of time, a day or two. So that's what those are three migration tools I recommend. We're actually going to do in this session coming up in September, we're actually going to do the migration using PC Mover from Laplink. So you'll see what it's like. And the one thing that you're going to want with PC Mover is an external USB hard drive that you can attach to your old computer and transfer everything, or create a transfer file from PC Mover that will create all the proper, get all the proper information from your old computer, put it into a transfer file on the USB hard drive, and then you'll take that and connect to your new computer. And when you start up PC Mover on your new computer, it will say, where are the files? And you say, it's on my external hard drive. And it will go and inventory everything that's on your external hard drive and figure out what it needs for installation. So that is my recommendation to do that. All three of the migration tools I showed you, they all can do a computer-to-computer connection over a network. I certainly would not recommend doing it over a wireless network, both for speed reasons as well as just the chance that it might break down in mid-transfer. So I don't recommend that. And the other part of it is both computers are out of service while you're doing the transfer. So now you have two computers that you can't use. You can have the new computer or new to you computer. You can still use the web browser. You can be doing things while waiting till later to do the transfer on demand. When you're all done with the old computer, you make the transfer file, go to your new computer, and you can transfer everything over. So, especially if most of what you're doing is web-based, that's a real good way of doing it. So I don't recommend using a network connection. I really do recommend using a USB-based hard drive. This one happens to be a Western Digital My Passport. I believe it's a terabyte drive. The hard drive which I have on the computer in question is only 300 gigabytes, so I don't need the whole terabyte drive. You can get a smaller one. Your mileage may vary, but I do recommend using this transfer package method of doing migrations. So then the advantage is, both computers are still operational. You don't take them both out of service. The other nice thing is you can undo all three of those migration applications on the new computer. If it didn't quite work right, you can undo everything and go back to your original Windows 11 that you had sitting there, and you can do it all over again. So it's another nice thing about having a transfer package. You can use the same transfer package and do it again, or you can make a new transfer package and do it again. That's a nice thing. And all of this, boy, that was quick. All of this will be the notes on it, the links, things of that nature, will be at tcil.org/CCS 0701. And so you can, it's just a text file. You can download it and pick it up. After my meeting with the West Side chapter, where I'm doing the same program. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron. Okay. Offhand now, we're going to start segueing into the other things that we're going to try and cover tonight. Let me change the view for a minute. I'm going to cover a little bit about Windows 11 to start off with. Some things have changed in 23H2 and 24H2 versions of 11 people need to be aware of. Right now, let's see if I can share my desktop. Well, that part worked. And I'm going to go to Start, Settings, come to System. There's a lot of changes that have taken place in the 23 and 24H2, and I'm trying to point out a couple of them. In the past, if you started having a problem with your operating system, as long as it was still running, you could create a media creation tool of the same version of Windows onto a flash drive, stick it in, execute from the flash drive's File Explorer window the setup program, and it would do an in-place upgrade of your system, straightening out most, if not all, the problems your system was having, and keep your third-party software installed and your data intact. Well, now you can't do that in 23 and 24H2. You have to come to this recovery folder, and this one here, the first one here, this will do the in-place for you as long as your system is running. If your system is not running, you have to have a Windows recovery tool that gives you the tools to try and fix your system when it's not booting up. And it also contains, when you create the recovery drive, a current copy of the operating system that was installed on your system with all the updates that you had at that point in time. It's recommended at minimum you create a new recovery drive once every year. You might want to think about once every 6 months or even 3 months. That way you have very few updates after the recovery that you have to check for and have installed on your system before you really use it. Now, in addition, down here we have other recovery options. You have, with this one, reset the PC. This will reset the operating system. All your custom settings will be gone. Any third-party programs will be gone, but it'll keep your data files. And if you're going to continue using the system, you would have to reinstall all your third-party applications. The next one down is a go back feature in case something goes wrong. You have up to 10 days to recover from either one of these two changes. But the one down here, if you're going to especially get rid of your computer, like sell it or give it away to a family member or friend, this would restart by doing a clean install of the operating system and nothing else. Everything else would be gone. So that's one change. If you're on Windows Pro or Enterprise, down here next to the last one is optional features. This has been moved from the control panel to here. And what this does when you open it up is it gives you the ability, well, right now it's not doing it online, but it will give you the ability to add features or take features you never are going to use off your system and leave you with a leaner machine. But if you want to use the latest, greatest tool that most people don't know about, it's called sandboxing. But you have to have the Pro and Enterprise version. You have to activate hypervision in the optional features. You have to go into your BIOS on an Intel or an AMD Ryzen machine. You may have one or two virtual operation entries, and you have to activate those to make the whole thing work. Then you go into your security settings, security and privacy, to be able to set up the sandboxing feature. There's other features in the security and privacy area that are in addition to give you even more security on your account that you probably don't know about. Apps and browser control. This can give you smart app control if you want it. You can reputation-based protection. If some outfit has a bad reputation, it would protect you from that software being installed on your system or running on your system. Exploit protection is available also. You also have in here device security, core isolation. This prevents malware that got into your system running on one of the cores of your CPU, transferring that software to other cores of infecting other pieces of software on your system while you're running. You got secure boot issues that you want to take a look at. You generally need to have secure boot running with 11. Data encryption. This is where you have BitLocker direct capability also. And you can, if you've turned it off for some reason, you have the ability to turn it back on. If you want to, if you've got 2 drives or more than 2 drives, maybe one drive is protected so that if anybody steals your machine or gets in some other means than the proper way of logging into the computer, then all they would see is encrypted data that is useless to them. So there are a lot of features that you have to really start looking at. Device performance even. There are some things out here like Windows time of service, your storage capacity, pages and software, apps and software. If you got apps out on your system you aren't using or never have used, or you stopped using them because you loaded up some other piece of software, you're smart to take those applications out by uninstalling them through the apps setting, which is back up here. Well, excuse me. Back up here. Apps, installed apps, and it will populate here. These are all programs that are installed on the system. So if I wanted to take this one out because I'm not using it anymore, I have it uninstall, it'll ask for confirmation, and it will completely remove it from the system. I don't know that it's as good as Rebo Uninstaller by giving you a scan option that will take out orphaned registry entries and or leftover files in your computer that'll accumulate over time. So that's something that you have to think about. Another option under System that I want to point out while I'm here is down here, System Components. System Components, it doesn't have a long list, but there are ways you can go to advanced options, and on some of these I can say background component compressions, permissions. They normally will allow running in the background. I can set that to never run in background, and that means that program will not be taking up resources while I'm trying to do my normal work on the computer. And if you do that to a number of these, you get some of your performance back. Now, one other thing that I'll bring up too is trying to think of the name of it now. I'm going to go to here. This is system restore points. You got to give it an administrator level permission, and it brings up this little screen here. Make sure yours is on. Years ago in 10 and many 11 systems, it is turned off. This is a short-term insurance policy. You want to have it turned on by coming down here. You click on that, you go to configure, turn it on, and then set a relatively small amount of storage space. I would never go over 10. You can probably get away with as little as 4 to 6 gigabytes of storage space. Then I can come down to create, and I can create anytime I want to manual restore points, but usually they only have a life of 30 days and the system automatically deletes them. Usually restore points are only good and used for maybe up to a week's time. If nothing in a change that you make after you did the restore point, nothing bad happens, you don't probably need that restore point anymore, and after 30 days it will automatically disappear. There are, in Windows updates and upgrades, it will create restore points. They have a life of up to 60 days in case something goes wrong. But remember, after the restore point is created, any changes you make to your computer will likely be lost. Not 100%, but most of them will be lost. So new files and modified files that are data files, some of that stuff will still be there when you recover, but some of that stuff is going to be gone and you have to recreate it. So make sure you have that in mind. While you're on this screen, we have advanced features. The first one here, go in there, and as you can see on the system here, and our friends at Microsoft are notorious for this, they keep turning features back on. These are leeches for your processing power. I turn all these off except for these four. Show thumbnails instead of icons. Show Windows content while dragging. Smooth edge of screen fonts so they're easier to read. And smooth scroll list boxes. And hit the apply button. Also from this one, if I click on the advanced tab, here is my virtual memory settings. I don't do the automatic. I do a custom setup. It tells me down here, it recommends I have at least 4 gigabytes of space set up as a minimum. Right now I'm set up at 3 gigabytes, but it will automatically expand with this second setting here to 3.5 gigabytes of space. And then you hit the set button. This is very important for the performance of your system when it's using the virtual memory settings. Now, one way of controlling the visual effects, I found out only fairly recently, is back in the settings. And I'm going to close this down, go back into settings, come up to settings here, go into accessibility. Here's visual effects. Make sure all these are set off. That that usually stops most of those changes Microsoft keeps doing to the visual effects, especially this last one here. Animation effects, transparency effects, and scroll bars. Now the scroll bars, if you want to, you can keep that on, and it won't bother your system and may help you with scrolling up and down windows in your browser, etc. So that's one thing that I wanted to bring up in Windows 11. The next thing I'm going to do here, and I've got to make sure there's a setting set. I hope that works. This is very important for 10 users. You may or may not have heard about this so far.
Should you sign up for extended security updates for Windows 10? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. Earlier this year, Microsoft announced something that honestly it's new and unique. The ability to keep getting security updates to Windows 10 after its so-called end of support date. Now, as I record this in June of 2025, they've shared some specifics finally on how to get it and, surprisingly, even how you might get it for free. Let's have a look at what's happening, what it might be good for, and whether I think it's worth it. The published end of support date is not changing. On October 14, 2025, Microsoft will stop supporting Windows 10. That means no feature updates, no bug fixes, and perhaps most concerning, no security updates, with one important distinction regarding Microsoft Defender that I'll talk about in a minute. In the past, corporate customers have had the option to sign up for extended security updates, meaning that for some large amount of money, they continue to receive security-related updates after the end of support date. There are still no feature updates or bug fixes other than those relating to identified security issues, and even then, presumably only those of significant enough impact. I believe this program has been in place for prior versions of Windows. As you might imagine, large corporations with a large investment in a specific version of the operating system, they're loath to take on the expense of upgrading and are typically willing to shell out money for security updates instead. Now, for the first time, Microsoft is making the Extended Security Updates, or ESU, program available to customers who use Windows 10 Home and Pro editions. Sort of. Quoting them, "For the first time ever, we're introducing an ESU program for personal use as well. The ESU program for consumers will be a one-year option available for $30. Program enrollment will be available closer to the end of support in 2025. For $30, although possibly free, as I'll talk about in a minute, you get 1 year of security updates beyond the October 14, 2025 cutoff date. 1 year. After that, once again, you're on your own. And again, this includes no feature updates and no bug fixes other than sufficiently serious security issues. What's a serious security issue? Good question. We don't know what Microsoft's criteria will be. My sense is that it's something that would put significant numbers of Windows 10 users at risk of compromise if left unfixed. I think of it as buying an extended warranty for your car. For an additional fee, you're getting years' worth of additional protection. You may never need it, but if you do, it's there. Though, given that updates are transparent, you may never even realize that you needed it. All right. While not available yet, Microsoft has announced how ESUs will be made available, and some surprising options on possibly getting it for free. Quoting, "For individuals, an enrollment wizard will be available through notifications and settings, making it easy to enroll in ESU directly from your personal Windows 10 PC. Through the enrollment wizard, you'll be able to choose from 3 options. Use Windows Backup to sync your settings to the cloud at no additional cost. Redeem 1,000 Microsoft Rewards points at no additional cost. Pay $30 USD. Local pricing may vary." The first one to me is a complete non-starter. Windows Backup is not the backup you think it is, and it involves the horrific OneDrive backup feature. To me, this is clearly a ploy to get more people to put more data in OneDrive and presumably pay for more space when they run out. Redeeming 1,000 Microsoft reward points might be the most pragmatic for many in countries where the program is enabled. These points are easy to accumulate. Just use Bing for search for long enough, for example. And in fact, you may already have more than you realize. I checked rewards.bing.com, signed in with my Microsoft account, of course, and I discovered that for reasons unknown, I have over 5,000 points. Woohoo! And of course, you can pay the $30 fee. As of now, it's one time and for only 1 year. Educational and other programs may have the option to extend further, with the pricing increasing each subsequent year. But for individual consumers, it's one and done. But the answer to the most common question so far is now clear. An enrollment wizard will be available through notifications and in settings. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're on Windows 10. Now, support for Windows 10 security issues ends on either October the 14th, 2025, or a year later if you sign up for ESU. Windows Security, more specifically Microsoft Defender, the antivirus software running on your Windows 10 machine, is on a different schedule. Once again, quoting the original Microsoft post, Microsoft will also continue to provide security intelligence updates for Microsoft Defender antivirus through at least October 2028. That means while Windows itself will no longer get fixes for most security issues, the anti-malware software will continue to get database updates allowing it to detect current threats through 2028. Should you buy the ESU? Maybe. On one hand, I've long said that you can continue to use Windows 10 safely after the end of support as long as you pay attention to what you're doing and take responsibility of maintaining proper security. It's my response to people who believe they're being forced to purchase a new computer. You're not. Just keep using Windows 10. On the other hand, $30 doesn't seem a horrific price to pay for an extended warranty to increase your protection for another year. Now, with the free options, it might make the decision even easier. Though, again, use the rewards points, not the backup offer. On the other hand, $30 per machine could add up if you have multiple Windows 10 machines. Hasn't been made clear yet, but my assumption is that the fee is per installation. So ultimately, I guess I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'll certainly sign up for at least one computer just to test it and experience it. For now, there's nothing you can do, as Microsoft has not opened the enrollment program yet. When the time comes, sign up for it or not as you see fit. If $30 isn't in your budget and you don't have the option to use the free offering, you don't really have to worry. You can still keep using Windows 10 safely on your own. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/175852. I'm Lee.
Okay. Now I'm gonna get out of that if I can. All right. Now, by the way, for those people who are not aware of Leo Notenberg Bloom, excuse me, he is an ex-Microsoft employee in software development, and I think he left Microsoft in 2001 or 2003. I don't remember, but it's in that time frame. And he's been doing Ask Leo videos and articles for a long, long time. He has very good sound advice. I would heed the advice he is giving. Moving on, I'm going to take and pause here for a moment, and I'm going to do some of my handouts. So I'm going to open up a file here, and I don't know why I'm doing it, but we're going to do it anyhow. All right. Now, I'm going to try and open up the chat here. Bring it back up. Okay. I'm putting into the chat the main article, but I have a secondary one I'm going to put in also. So one of them is out there now, and the other's coming. That's the one. And there's a second one now out there. Now, I'm going to go back into sharing the screen. You got a ton of articles there. This is the biggest handout I've ever made in any of the meetings I can think of, unless there were some years back. Going to share my desktop again, and I'm going to move on to another article here. This is this guy's pretty good too, and his is a little bit of a rant. So I'm gonna
Welcome back to Tech News. Today, Microsoft is giving people an option for extended updates for Windows 10 for free. Or rather, it doesn't cost you anything aside from your soul. And in the UK, in an attempt to not allow publishers to abandon games, they might stifle the entire gaming industry. Let's jump into it. Windows 10 reaches end of life on October 14th, 2025. As this date draws near, it's time to start thinking about what you're going to do to continue to receive security updates. One option is the ESU program. This is a paid program that extends security updates for Windows 10 until October of 2026. It costs $30 for consumers, but some people don't want to spend $30. If that's you, then Microsoft is offering this program for free, but there's kind of a catch. First, let me go over how you can get the ESU program for free. The first method involves enabling Windows Backup to sync settings and files to OneDrive. This option requires signing into or creating a Microsoft account and activating Windows Backup. Once enabled, your PC is automatically enrolled in the ESU program. Now, the downside to this method is that OneDrive only offers 5 gigabytes of free storage. So if you have more than 5 gigabytes of files to back up, you will need a paid storage plan, which starts at $1.99 a month for 100 gigabytes. The second method allows users to redeem 1,000 Microsoft reward points for the ESU program. Reward points are earned through activities like using Bing for searches or using Microsoft Edge. You can even earn reward points for making purchases through the Microsoft Store. Now, accumulating 1,000 reward points is relatively easy and can often be achieved in less than a week of regular Bing searches for free. Now, this method avoids the OneDrive storage costs, but it still requires a Microsoft account. If you're a keen observer of details, then you already noticed the catch. And no, the catch is not OneDrive storage fees. However, that is kind of a trap all in of itself. The catch in this case is that Microsoft is using a free enrollment to the ESU program to promote their other products. First off, both free options for the ESU program require a Microsoft account. This further proves that the primary purpose of Microsoft accounts is to make data harvesting easier. Because why else would Microsoft be willing to essentially pay you $30 to get you signed into a Microsoft account? But who knows, maybe that's just the conspiracy theory in me talking. However, this is being used as a way to push Microsoft products like Edge, OneDrive, and Bing. Maybe Microsoft thinks that if they can get you to use Edge or Bing for a week, then you won't switch back later. This will increase their browser and search market share, ultimately, if it works. I have to say, though, I'm not even mad. This is actually kind of a creative way for Microsoft to promote their own products. But with that said, I still recommend just paying the $30 if you want to continue to use Windows 10. For $30, the ESU program supports Windows 10 Home, Pro, and the Education and Workstation editions. And a single ESU license covers up to 10 PCs. Believe it or not, this is actually a pretty good deal, considering the fact that a business ESU license costs $61 for the first year and only covers a single computer. So, 10 computers with a business ESU license would cost $610 for the first year compared to $30 for a consumer license. And Best of all, the consumer license doesn't require a Microsoft account. At least if you pay the $30, it doesn't. You may say that the only reason why I recommend paying the $30 is because I don't agree with Microsoft accounts. And you'd be right. Personally, I believe that the whole concept of the Microsoft account is an attempt by Microsoft to get people to use Windows as a service. The best way to send a message to Microsoft that it isn't going to work is by continuing to use local accounts. Because personally, I don't feel like paying a monthly fee for Windows. I don't even like the fact that we have to pay to receive updates for Windows 10. But with that said, there's always the option to just upgrade to Windows 11 for free, and that has the added benefit of using Windows 11 with a local account. And I'm sure Microsoft isn't happy about that option either. Now, it is true that many computers don't meet the Windows 11 system requirements. Those requirements are easy to bypass, though, for most systems. I've done tons of videos on installing Windows 11 on unsupported hardware, and some of the methods are so easy that the requirements at this point are completely irrelevant. But with that said, Microsoft is offering the ESU program for no cost out of pocket. You just have to jump through some hoops by using some of Microsoft's products. I wonder though, if Microsoft realizes that the reason they are having to essentially pay people to use their products is because there are better alternatives. Are you still running Windows 11 unactivated because the license just costs too much? Then you should check out today's sponsor, VIP SCD, purchased and hit activate. Now you don't. There's an initiative called Stop Killing Games. This is a consumer-driven movement aimed at preserving video games by preventing publishers from rendering titles unplayable after support ends. On one hand, I hate to see games die once the publisher stops supporting them. But on the other hand, I think that the government screws up everything they get involved in. And ultimately, the consequences of this could make the problem worse. The initiative, which started in 2024, seeks to address the growing issue of games dying once the publisher no longer wants to support the game. They seek to update consumer law to prohibit publishers from disabling games without providing a means to continue playing them, such as offline modes or private server support. The initiative is definitely popular, being it's gained 150,000 signatures, exceeding the 100,000 needed for consideration. This is significant considering the fact that the earlier attempt was dismissed back in February. However, I may get a lot of hate for this, but I think the dismissal was valid. The justification for the dismissal was that the existing consumer protection already applies to games that are misleadingly sold as being playable indefinitely. But the initiative doesn't demand infinite publisher support, but insists that the games remain functional after being shut down. However, skepticism still persists about government action, given most lawmakers' limited tech and gaming knowledge. I don't think we really take this consideration to heart as often as we should. I mean, do we really want legislation created on subjects that legislatures have no knowledge on? I can tell you right now that the best way to get nonsense laws is to allow people that have no idea what they're talking about creating those laws. I mean, here's the thing. A perfect example of this is the UK mandated USB-C charging ports. Yes, it's annoying that different smartphones have different charging ports. However, mandating that all smartphones use USB-C isn't even taking into account what comes after USB-C. This will inevitably stifle innovation when the next superior charging port technology comes out, and smartphone manufacturers are forced to use the old, outdated USB-C ports. So, what are the ramifications going to be for forcing publishers to provide a means to continue playing a game after support ends? The ramifications will likely be a stifling in innovation in games. Why would a publisher risk a new feature if they have to think about supporting that feature indefinitely? For instance, the Max Payne series doesn't work on Windows 10 or 11. I mean, it can be made to work, but it's kind of a pain. Pun intended. So should we force Rockstar Games to patch all of their previous games every time a new operating system comes out? Now, I'm going to show my age here, but there was a game called Street Rod that came out in the late 80s with a sequel called Street Rod 2 that came out in the early 90s, and it was actually a lot of fun. This game was published by a now defunct publisher called California Dreams. So, who's responsible for making sure that this game perpetually works until the end of time? Now, I don't live in the UK, so why am I even worried about this? Well, you see, the problem is that manufacturers and publishers don't create different products for different locations or regions. If they have to comply with laws in the UK, then I'm pretty much required to comply with those laws created by people that have no authority over me. I mean, a great example of this is in the UK, there's this stupid law that requires a special tax on camcorders. Because of this stupid law, cameras like the one that I'm currently using right now to record this video are limited to recording 29 minutes of video in order to not be considered camcorders and be subject to pay an additional tax in the UK. But here's the thing, there's no such law in America, yet I still get burdened by a law that when I have to stand up, walk around my set here, and push the record button again. And here's the thing, that's if I notice the recording stopped. I can't tell you how many times videos have been ruined because I thought I was recording when I wasn't. In fact, I better make sure I'm still recording now. The reason for this is because Canon doesn't make UK-specific firmware. And in America, the firmware is the same firmware that they use in the UK. And it, of course, complies with UK law. Ultimately, though, I don't even see how this initiative can even be implemented. You can't force game publishers to support a game that they no longer sell or even desire to support. That's called slavery, and most first world countries have banned that a long time ago. And I also don't think it's a good idea to force game publishers to release source code for their products, because ultimately, that's intellectual property that belongs to them, and they should be able to make the decision on whether or not to release that. Some of that code might be used in their newer games, and it could hurt them to release it. So I don't see how this could be implemented without violating the rights of the publishers themselves. Does that mean I think it's right for them to just abandon games? No, I think it's screwed up. I wish every company was like Valve, who is still releasing security patches and engine updates for the original Counter-Strike that was released over 20 years ago. And trust me, I checked before I wrote this script. They really are. But we can't just force publishers to do what we want them to do. We can, however, vote with our dollar and not purchase content or titles from publishers that we don't agree with. And that's way easier to implement than some random law. But with that said, we only have 2 stories today instead of the typical 3 because I talked way too much about the first 2 stories and I didn't want this video to go on too long. I was going to follow up on another story we did a few weeks ago about Nintendo Switch 2 being bricked based on their anti-piracy measures. It turns out people are buying used Switch 2s that are already banned. Another one of those unintended consequences. Or maybe in this case, it was an intended consequence. I don't know. If you'd like to hear more about that, then let me know down in the comments below, and I may add it to next week's news.
Okay, that's his 2 cents and views and perspectives on the topic of software licensing, support, etc. So you take it for what it's worth. The next thing I've got here are some articles that may be of interest to some of you. We don't have time to go through everything in detail. Offhand, this is a hidden Windows feature making installing software a breeze. It's using what's called WinGet to install and manage apps. And I'll let you read in the article what this is all about and see if you want to try and set this up on your system. It can make keeping your software up to date easier in some respects. Next one, hidden tricks instantly close any frozen apps. They have 3 of them. You can use in-task option if it's available to you when it realizes that a application you were running froze up. It's not always available directly, and even when it is, sometimes it does not close down the app. So the next one up is to go bring up Task Manager by right-clicking on the taskbar in an area where there's no icons, it's blank, and right-click, select Task Manager, look at the processes, see if you can find the program you were running that froze up, right-click on the entry there, and try and end the task there as well. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. The third one, and this is their number one, this is a simple little application. It's on GitHub. If you're running a malware browser guard, you may get a pop-up screen that is warning you not to go there, to go back, because there are bad actors out on GitHub, but there's a lot of good ones, like Microsoft's Power Toys are out there, and several other tools are out there. They're all good. This one here is a small download. You download it, either the install 64-bit version, or you can download a 64-bit portable version that you put onto a flash drive, and then you when you have a freezed up program that won't end with the other options, then you'd stick in the flash drive, you would execute this program and kill that program. They even still have a 32-bit portable version also. But I don't know how many people are actually using a 32-bit CPU processor in their computer. Next up, you have this free software tool solves the most common Windows headaches effortlessly. Basically speaking, in probably going back to Windows XP, maybe even further than that, you have a System32 folder under the Windows folder on the C drive. That has a lot of command line tools. What this tool is, it gives you one screen to run any of those tools. You don't have to worry about command line verbiage, options, etc. to run these jobs from this one menu. So it's a downloadable feature. You can download, and for a couple of these, I think I put in there the download site URL. It's worth doing, because some of the tools are tools that you can learn to run and solve many of your problems before you have to get outside help or take your computer into a repair shop and pay money. I also recommend not going to Best Buy unless you know the techs there and that they know what the heck they're doing, because most of the techs at Best Buy really don't, and they are also often salespeople besides technicians for, like, installing a TV set on your wall at home, as an example. And they try and get you to buy additional things. It's part of their job description. Then the next one is, now these are secret run commands unlocking old school Windows features. These are the same System32 programs that are out there on your Windows system. And you can learn more about some of these programs, but you can run them from the previous program here. So it gives you two back-to-back ones. One describes some of the tools that are out there that can be run from this one menu that you can launch, execute the program, and then you're done. So take that into account. Read through this whole article here. There's quite a few in here that I use all the time. MS Config is one of them. Clean Manager, I still use it occasionally, but it's there are better products out there by third parties that do a better job overall. But it's built in. It costs you nothing. It costs you whatever you paid for your computer. This one's a little unique. If you don't have some third-party cleanup tools that will handle it, there is a temp area that's in each user account on the computer. And this little technique here that they describe will allow you to delete all that obsolete junk. Mind you, if it's using any file at the time you run the application, it will not delete that. None of the cleanup programs will take and delete open files. Only old closed files that are just taking up space and giving you nothing in return. This one is for networking. I doubt most of you would use it. The shell startup, I don't think so either. MS Info 32 tells you in general and more specific information under each of these categories about your computer and its configuration. So it's worth something. You got a character map. If you are in a habit of using special characters in text, etc., such as in Spanish, there's that little mark over some of the letters. I can't remember what it's called. This is where you would be able to get those letters with that mark and be able to put it into action on your computer. System properties performance. This again is the one I showed you earlier with Windows 11. It's been on 10 and 8, etc. This is a big leech. I only have 4 of these active. Don't forget to go into accessories. It may not be on Windows 10 that you have the visual effects section like there is in 11. In which case, Microsoft, from time to time, you have to check this out because they may turn on some of the things you turned off just to get rid of the leech. Next up, if it'll come up. Okay, now this one here is I'm giving you options in Linux. If you say no way Jose, I still suggest you examine these programs. There's several videos here, and they'll give you some sense of what a Linux system is like. On a Windows 10 environment, if you were thinking about going to Linux, whatever your primary machine is and a secondary backup to that primary machine, you never touch those. If you got another machine that you hardly use or haven't used in a long time, that might be the candidate to install a Linux on and play with it. This here gives you the ability to use VirtualBox, to create a virtual machine and install Linux on it on a production or secondary machine, I would use the secondary machine instead of the primary. And this would then run at the same time, but you have to understand your machine characteristics. First, you got to have at least 8 gigs or more of RAM memory. 2, you have to have at least 2-core CPU processor, preferably with hyper threading, or 4 cores. The reason for these 2 things is when you set up the virtual machine, you have to share the number of cores and the memory between your original Windows 10 machine and this virtual machine. So if you got 4 cores, you could say, okay, Windows 10, you get 2 cores. And if I got 8 gigs of memory, I'll give 4 gigs of memory to Windows 10. The other 2 cores and the other 4 gigs of memory will go to the Linux machine, and you'll get good performance. If you only have 2 plain cores with no hyper threading, then you have a problem, because that means 10 and the Linux virtual machine will be trying to run on a single core each. That means it's going to be as slow as an old Pentium 4 computer of 20 years ago. No, almost 25 years ago. So I don't recommend it unless you got the hyper threading. And not all the old machines had hyper threading unless it was an i7. I'm not going to play the video. I'll let those who got the handout play that. The next thing up, running Windows on Linux. Okay, there are people with Windows 10, maybe even Windows 11 for all I know, that can take advantage of this one. It again uses VirtualBox on a Linux running machine. You set up the VirtualBox, but there's a gotcha. And I'm not kidding when I say it. If you use the simple installation of Linux, it creates a glob, single partition, to put the operating system, any of your programs in, and all your data files. That's bad practice. You should have individual partitions. I use the individual partitions, but if I don't do the setup correctly when I want to use VirtualBox on Linux, it puts it in what's called the root folder. And root folders are kept to a limited size that's more than ample to keep getting your updates and upgrades to the Linux operating system. But it puts the virtual machine in the root. A proper setup would include not only the root partition, but a home partition, possibly a swap partition, but you also want to have a partition for /var. That's where the virtual box machines are kept. And having that in its own separate partition means you don't run out of space in the root partition. That's more advanced setup, and I have shown people how to do this in the past. There are other people out there who have created videos on how to properly partition a Linux setup. Just remember, if you want to use a virtual machine, install Windows on it, and then your old legacy programs that will not run in Linux, it will run in the virtual machine just like it's normal. And all you have to do is set up one additional partition for the /var partition, and that's where your virtual machine will go and not bother the root partition. Next up. Boy, okay. Switching to Linux, drives and partitions. This one explains the differences between your Windows system, which you may not even know some of the things that it's going to tell you about, and how it compares with a Linux operating system. So you want to go through this before you play with Linux on a serious basis. Definitely go through this to get some real understanding, your old environment to the new environment, to make things, and especially your life, much easier on Linux. Next up. This one here is for those in 10 and 11, SFC. He thinks there's a real problem with FFC working correctly to detect the critical boot up files of Windows 10 and 11, and if it finds corruption, to correct the corruption. And in part, he is correct. I partially agree with him. But there are other tools that are in the System 32, going back a little ways here in the presentation, where there are tools called DISM that can check for corruption and heal the corruption. And all you have to do afterwards is take and reboot the computer, and odds are your problems will be resolved from any kind of corruption in the OS critical files. It doesn't check everything. You still have to use a check disk on your Windows partitions to catch general corruption in other programs and data files. Next up, this is a neat little tool that I came across before I even came across the video, but it'll help even detect other corruption and try and correct them. It may also detect bad, it's not called a sector unless you have a spinning hard drive. If you have an SSD, it's a block of storage in electronic silicon that may start going bad. And there's a way it can save as much data in bad sectors on spinning hard drives and blocks on SSDs and move that into an area called a over provisioning area. What that means on an SSD is that you have a small block that you do not create any partitions on. It's raw, unused, and that becomes the rescue area to keep your system going longer with that drive as it may be deteriorating. And it also gives you a heads up to where you can start looking for getting a new replacement drive. Make sure you keep doing frequent full image backups that have been verified as really being good. And a lot of the third-party programs will do verification for you, either automatically if you ask it to, or it will do it manually after the backup is done and you tell it, go verify that backup with the current image before I do any changes to my system. Microsoft said in 2019, do not use the backup on Windows 10 and 11. It's from Windows 7 days. It's never been really updated. It has no verification capability. You have to know how to do an individual manual verification of your backup to make sure it's good before you start using your system again. It's if you luck out, it works. Otherwise, you go try to use your backup. It may say, "Sorry, this is a bad backup. I can't restore anything from it. You're out of luck." And you should always have 3 consecutive backups, not at the same time, but say right now it's July. I make a new backup for July. I have one here for June, and I got one for May. And if the April one is still out there, after I create the July one, I would delete the April one if I so desire to have ample space when I make the August update. Or if I'm backing up more frequently, like every 2 weeks or every week, you're going to run out of space real quick unless you've got next to nothing on your system. Because a full image backup is the whole operating system, all your installed programs, whether Microsoft or third party, and all your data files that you haven't moved off of your C drive to some other drive, whether it's an internal drive or an external USB drive. Next. Come on. All right. How to repair Windows 10 using the command prompt. This will give you detailed information about DISM and utility tool. That other article that I showed you before gives you an easy way of trying to execute that task, along with the SFC, which is in that same menu. So go through this. It'll give you some understanding of what the tools do to try and heal your system before you have to take more strong measures, such as an in-place installation of the operating system followed by a update, or using the recovery drive you made and using it to recover your system. So you have choices. Next, fix corrupted files. This again gets into some of the characteristics, how to heal an ailing system, if at all possible, before you have to take stronger measures. There are a lot of people, they think the computer is like current modern cars, where only automotive experts with proper gear and training can take care of their car. It costs a lot of money if they have to have things replaced. Well, computers are that way too, unless you can do some of your own healing. And backups are mandatory. They have to be there or you're SOL. You're going to lose stuff. Next up, this is a link to my personal folder of a video. This is from APCUG last month. It is the Linux APCUG meeting for June. In the beginning here, it's talking about Zoom chat issues. Apparently, it has been resolved to the point where they know the account with Zoom has some kind of a problem or corruption. We don't know exactly what yet, because Zoom has no idea what's causing the problem that they're having, but it is a Zoom problem, not everybody's problem. But they have made some changes in the past that have even affected CCS's presentations. But if you haven't been to an APCUG Linux meeting, this is one to go look at, review, because it's made for introducing people who don't know Linux about Linux and how to deal with it. And it's a good starting point. Next up, this is a publication that I came across. This is not a copyrighted version because it has no copyright notification on here. It is at a site called thelinuxbook.com. It gives you a forward here about setting up the perfect environment, what Xorg versus Wayland is. It's a hot topic for about the last year, and it's going to be the Wayland's going to be the wave of the future. Then you have what Linux is made of, and it breaks down a lot of categories here to give you a lot of things that you need to learn about. You have bootloaders. What the heck is a bootloader? Well, Microsoft Windows has its own bootloader, believe it or not. And so does Linux. And so does Apple's Mac OS. All OSs have a bootloader of some kind. Some will display and some of them don't. It depends on the whole setup. The next chapter 4, just about everybody can skip this because most people do not use any kind of a server. So it's worthless to most people. This next one, chapter 5, gets into drives and file systems like that one video, gives you more information about the structure of drives and the file systems in Linux. You have hardware compatibility, very loose hardware requirements. Linux runs on darn near anything out there, but some of it is easier to set up and some of it is very laborious and usually not done by most people. You also have programs. Here she gives you some idea of programs that are available that you might want to consider using, because the Windows labels of programs you're using in a Windows system may not exist on Linux. So you have to look at some of these other programs here that do. And many of these are crossover programs. What does that mean? That means they have been designed not only for working on Linux, they will also work on Windows, and many of them will also work on Mac OS. That's cross-platform. So you may be using a cross-platform program on Windows 10, and you can use the same program on a Linux system. And the last category is setting up the perfect Linux environment. This gets into characteristics of different types of desktops, and this is only a small listing of desktop environments. Most people would, from Windows systems, would look at KDE and Cinnamon as being the two major ones they would probably feel most comfortable with, but they may be able to adapt to the other ones reasonably well also. This gets into tiling managers, and I'll tell you right now, this is an advanced topic you can skip because most people, I'm looking at it right now, not on these live systems, but I have two setups right now. One is Sway, and the other one is not listed here. It's called Hyperland. Hyperland is a one that's been around for about a year or so, and it doesn't use any kind of a desktop environment any of us are used to. It's just strange. I would have to show you what it is. i3 is only for older Linux systems that are still using X11. Everything else, just about. I know Sway uses Wayland, and many of these others will also use the Wayland environment rather than X11. So that's what that is. Now, oops, you little son of a gun. Now, the next three items I've got here, take this with a grain of salt. If you're trying to learn and understand what Linux is and what the environment is like, etc., these three are 5 to 6 year old videos. They're well renowned people in the Linux world. Give them a spin. Look at them if you're really interested in the possibility of Linux down the road. Why Linux? You've got another one here. This one here is which Linux distribution. This one here is Ubuntu, and the other one that we use in the CCS Linux mostly is Mint, and I recommend only those two to really be used for beginners. There are people I see a lot of that are using Arch. That's bleeding edge technology. It comes with a lot of headaches. I would avoid it if you don't really feel comfortable in a Linux environment. SUSE and Red Hat, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Gecko, those are medium range. They're used by a lot of businesses. So they're pretty stable, very usable systems, but they may be a little too advanced for a beginner. And that's Fedora. This one here, I forget what the symbol represents, but it doesn't matter too much. This one here is Debian. Some people will like Debian because it's very stable. They don't let out any new changes until they are absolutely convinced it's rock solid stable and will not cause a problem. But it also means they don't have a lot of drivers and other features that more up-to-dating systems would have. So you're looking for stability, or you're looking for support of new computer hardware and or features that you see and hear about other people using. And the third one here by the same guy is that one there, and he covers, this is gives you more information verbally in a video about Wayland versus Xorg. Xorg is very, very old and very, very limiting for newer hardware and software, and that's what prompted the creation of Wayland, and it's getting better and better. It made big improvements in 2024, and there's already big improvements here in 2025. Next up, hey, I'm doing pretty good. Endless OS. This is a real funny one. I don't know, I haven't played with this in quite a while. Originally, you could install this on Windows 10 or 11, and it is not a separate installation. It installs itself within the Windows environment if you got the space. it gives me an impression of something akin to Chromebook in operation. At the same time, looking at the bottom there is the task bar, and that's Mac style, just like 11 is. It is a Mac style taskbar. So this is something worth looking at, and I have another one that getting started with Endless OS, and I think this may be yeah, this is about a year old, so they may already have OS 7 out or even higher. So take it with a grain of salt to get an idea of what the Endless OS is like. You might be able to actually use it on a Windows 10 environment. But again, I would use a secondary machine, not your primary. Next up, Windows 11 24H2. This update here includes, but I haven't been able to find it on mine yet, a computer transfer application. This is worth looking into if you have an 11 system and are trying to transfer stuff from the old system. So read through it, see if it suits your needs. For some people it will, but I'll bet you the majority it will not be of use until later on when they replace the current 11 system they have with a new Windows 11 system. Then they might use this transfer application to get the data from one machine to the other. Windows 11 2552 adds the same feature, direct download links, but this 52 also caused some people a problem. This is what's called a cumulative preview download that occurred very end of June or very beginning of July, and for some people it was turned into a nightmare. This is why you want to have your restore points so that you can restore back to prior to installation of this and have a restoration of your system, and you skip this one. Next up, Windows 11 test PC to PC wireless file transfer, similar to a Windows 7 tool that's been gone since at least 2014. I think that was the end of Windows 7. Might be worth looking at for some people that have multiple computers. You might find a wireless way of transferring files from computer A to computer B to computer C, etc. Another one here. Here's a neat little utility that's free for Windows. I know it works in 11, but I'm not sure if it'll work in 10. I didn't research that. What it does, it gives you a preview by hovering over a file or folder what the content is and whether that's the one you're looking for, or you got to keep on looking at other files and folders. So it might be something worth having to be able to find things a little faster and easier. There is another program, it's free, it's called Everything. You can get a copy of Everything and install it on your system. It puts all the search features built into Windows 10 and 11 to shame, and a lot of people think Microsoft should buy Everything from the creator of the program. It does indexing and searches extremely fast, and you just have a lot more stuff probably to look through than you ever knew was out on your system by what you're looking for. Something to consider. Another thing, Windows is getting rid of the blue screen of death after 40 years. We'll have to have a wake for it. The new screen is going to either, I think, depend upon your system setup. It'll either be a black screen or it will be a gray screen. The key is, you see down here at the bottom where I'm pointing, this gives the information as to what caused the problem, okay? This is important if you want to solve your problem, or you have to have somebody else help you solve the problem. You got the information. There's a caveat, a big one. All input devices, mice, keyboard, touchpads, touch screen, are all disabled. You cannot take a screen snapshot. The only thing you can do is get out your smartphone or independent camera and take a snapshot of that screen to get that error code, and then use that information to do your own lookup and try and correct the problem, and or get help from somebody more tech savvy. Give them the information to help them resolve your problem. Next up, how to run old programs in Windows 11 with compatibility mode. This may apply to people going from 10 to 11, but I will say most programs that run on 10 will run on 11 without issue. But there are some that will not run correctly on 11. Those you can find the executable, right-click on the executable in File Explorer, and select compatibility mode. And you can tell it, run this as though you are running on a Windows 10, a Windows 8, or a Windows 7 system. I think it even goes back to Windows XP. But I don't know if they've removed that one thing. But you got to understand that you got to have programs that are only 32-bit or 64-bit to begin with. If you have old 16-bit programs or even 8-bit programs, you have to have an emulator to run those at all. And they got to be compliant with either Windows 32 or 64. Next up, Windows storage chips and how to never run out of space. Basically speaking, you get an external USB hard drive that you're not using for backing up your system images to. It's a separate drive, and you copy, i.e. archive, unused data files, especially like videos, lots of pictures, maybe even some of your music, to this external drive. It's there. You remove the same from your C drive, and you've got new space, and it'll keep up your performance, because when C drive starts exceeding 65% full, your system begins slowing down and slowing down and slowing down until it comes to a complete stop, literally. So you've got to get old stuff off. The machine that is my primary here, I had to do data recovery on, and it had tons of files. I finally got a secondary drive put in. I moved all the videos that I had out there to the other drive, and when you do a move versus a copy, it does a copy first, and then when it successfully has copied it, it deletes the one on your C drive. When I got done, it went from a very slow machine back to a faster machine. got a lot of performance back. It's still an old machine. So there's limits to what you can do, but it can be very advantageous. And every time you want something that's on that drive, plug it in. I don't recommend leaving any flash drive or USB that is not actively being used in the short term unplugged from your system. Should you ever get hit by ransomware, any drive internally and attached as a USB device will all be encrypted. So if you want to avoid a holy nightmare, don't have your drives connected any longer than you need to if they're USB. Next up, these hidden services are hogging your CPU. This is not for everybody, but if you're adventurous enough and understand what it's talking about, there are services out there that in most cases do not need to be run. And you only do one of these at a time, what they're suggesting here. When you get into services.msc, you have to be in it as an administrator, or you're not going to do anything but see what's there. You will not be able to change anything. When you are in administrator mode, you may be able to disable it. Experiment around when you disable a service and see if it's causing you any appreciable problems. At least bring up the programs, etc. And odds are you're not going to have a problem, but there are a few where you're going to say, I got a problem, take that service and re-enable it. That's all you have to do. But like I say, this is like the registry. Most people will avoid ever doing any changes to the registry because if you screw that up, you're really screwed up. And by the way, Microsoft turned off backing up the registry way back in Windows 10. There are ways of reactivating the backup for the registry, which I don't have here. Next to last, clean out these temporary Windows folders today and reclaim gigabytes of space. And again, you see here, this familiar one here. This is a user temp folder. That means every user account on your system, this applies to, as well as system temporary folders. But there are third-party programs that'll clean all this stuff out for you. You don't have to go through manually doing a lot of it. And this one up here at the top is using Storage Sense, which on 11 is automatically activated since either 22H2 or 23H2. I don't remember which. The last thing I got in here is don't skip these 8 steps after upgrading your PC to 11. If you bought it, I would go through these anyhow, because some of these may reduce some of your headaches and also improve performance. Don't expect extreme leaps and bounds of performance. The only one that works on that is if your system uses a spinning hard drive, you got to upgrade to an SSD. Now, on older systems, that means a 2.5-inch SATA drive, but that can be up to 10 times faster than a spinning hard drive. In newer computers, you're using M.2 SATA drives or M.2 NVMe drives, and a lot of systems, the smaller they are, you usually only have space for one drive. Bigger systems, especially like in laptops, 16 and 17 inch quite often support 2 drives. Some 15.6 will support 2 drives. I don't know any smaller display size laptops that will handle two M.2 drives. But NVMe is the latest, greatest thing. They have a lot of speed. The faster they go, the more heat they generate. I'll tell you that up front. So that's most of the stuff I have for tonight's meeting. Does anybody have any questions or other things they want to bring up? Does anybody think there's any value to tonight's information?
I had a pretty good time. Learned a few things.
There's quite a bit in there, and you only saw in my part of the presentation probably half to at most 2/3 of the stuff that's in the handouts. There may be some duplication because I had stuff coming in so much so fast. I lost track of what was already there versus the new stuff, and there are a lot of different sources, and some of them do duplicate the information. Some will make their own write-up for some of the same basic information. So I hope this gives people some options. You've got trying to stay with 10. Understand, techie people like myself, Ron Freeman, and Edward Keating, to name 3, we're going to start forgetting a lot of what we know about 10. And you're going to find it harder and harder to find new versions of software, especially browsers, and eventually AV programs that are third party. You're going to find people trying to help you, whether they're paid or not. For Windows 10, it's going to be a tough hold finding some of these people that really remember the 10 and can really help you out of a bind. Then you have Windows 11. That's the future of Windows. You have Linux as an option. It's not for everybody, but if you think you can tolerate it, like I say, using a virtual machine is one of the best ways of doing it. If you have to have one or more programs that have to have Windows support for running those programs, you can, under a Linux test system, set up a virtual box, not in a virtual machine, but as bare metal machine for installing Windows 10, installing that software and seeing if it really works and you can live with it. You also have, I recommend for Linux, bare metal. Use it on a system that either you buy old and used. A lot of cheap stuff is coming on the market, and it's going to get cheaper because of the imminent termination of Windows 10. And then you have also a lot of hardware that you might have still laying around that can still run Linux as the only operating system. But don't do your primary, don't do your backup secondary system to that primary. And as a tech doing support, I like to have people that have 2 systems, a sick one and one that works just fine, because I talk to them on one system while trying to fix the other system. And that's very, very important for support. But this is a time of change, and there is an alternative, Apple Mac OS. But they make their own hardware. They make their own operating system. And they also get commissions for a lot of the software for Mac OS as well from the Mac store. So you're paying for a lot of potential support, easy operation by and large, but your equipment becomes obsolete after about 5 or 6 years. It's planned obsolescence, and there's no way around it. If you can afford the cost of what the support from Apple gives you, easy to use operating system and software. A lot of developers created tons of software, especially in the education area. That's your bag. That's fine. But in 5 years, 6 years, or something like that, you're going to have to replace the machine to stay up to date. But your old machine will still keep running. I've got 2 old, obsolete MacBook Pros. They still run, but it's also dangerous being out on the internet on those machines. And I know it. Okay. If I'm willing to take the risk, that's fine. If you're not willing to take the risk of bad things happening, it's not a good idea to stay on obsolete hardware, software that isn't really being supported anymore. That's my 2 cents. Anybody got anything else? Boy, we're kind of quiet tonight. I expected some more feedback. I thought it was going to take me a little longer to try and get through that material. Fortunately, Ron's presentation was a lot shorter than number 1 and number 2. All right. Well, then I'm going to stop some of the recording here. I can't stop it all, but I'll try. Yeah, I'm positive.
Recording stopped.
That's 1.